Hello, and welcome to Rejected Radio. My name is Moreover. I am joined by my co-host, Church of Satan,
Hey,
and our guests, Tinfect
Hello.
and Wintermoot.
Hello.
This is an interview, so let's start the questions.
first of all, the focus of this is Pride Month. June is Pride Month, and Tinfect, what does everybody know you for?
Well, according to some people, I'm apparently part of the General Secretaries, which is I'm not. But other than that, I'm just kind of a mediocre GA author.
Oh, you're humble too. I like that. And what about you, Wintermoot?
I don't know if it's really a claim to fame, but I am the founder and monarch of Wintreath.
I definitely say it's a claim to fame. Wintreath's a great region. You've done a really good job of it, building such a strong and vibrant community.
Thank you. We've had a great community over the years.
So, first of all, some background on you guys. Where did you guys start when you came to NationStates?
For me, a friend told me about the site. I joined to screw around, and then I hopped into the GA, and I haven't left. They won't let me go. Send help.
We'll put it in the on the to-do list.
And none will come, so
Well, it'll come. It's just the red tape may make it take a few years or decades. We don't know yet.
Such is the life of World Assembly bureaucracy.
And you, Wintermoot.
I joined NationStates in January 2013, just doing a search for political simulators. That was back when I received a total of 3 recruitment telegrams. Much less spam back then. And I ended up joining what was then a small region called Spiritus, and that's where I got my start.
Wow, just 3. That's when I found a nation. I get like 6 to 9 in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, those were the good old days.
And has there ever been a time when your orientation has affected how your experience has been in nation states?
Personally, not for me. I've always been fortunate to have really great people around me throughout my time in nation states, really supportive and great people.
For me, dealing with the GA, we tend to invite a lot of quotation marks debate on the matter, and of course, the extent of this debate is largely slur throwing and nonsense.
The General Assembly does, on occasion, deal with that in an in-character, or from an in-character perspective. So it's, I don't want to say uncommon, but not entirely unexpected to spill over into, an out-of-character spat.
I wish I could agree with you, but a lot of this comes from just sort of hit and run people who don't know much about the GA, who just treat it like general. And there's really no distinction between in and out of character for them.
Yeah, speaking as an observer to these quote-unquote debates, it certainly seems like a vast majority of the people who are very, let's say, outspoken about these things in a negative manner, they certainly don't really realize that a lot of the General Assembly is in character, and they just find a place and they're like, this is not right, even though there's nothing really wrong about it. They just find people who disagree with them and then just start spouting nonsense, really.
I'd like to think that most of them are just trolls, and they don't actually mean it, but it's never really worth trying to determine which is which, because either way, it's bad. In the rejected realms, we get those types year round, and rather than try to take the time to make the distinction, we just lump it together. and deal with it that way, because it's easier, and it's either way it's the right thing to do. So
Yeah, exactly.
what would you say are the biggest issues that the LGBT community faces in nation states?
This might be a matter more of personal experience, but I just generally feel that it's more the apathy of the moderation. Their reaction to this sort of thing going on is pretty limited.
Yeah, and I'm not defending the apathy, but since moderation is always such an iffy topic, they always have to be careful for that kind of thing. I mean, it can hinder them, but it also helps for different for different topics. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, really.
I suppose there's that.
It's not an enviable job being a moderator on there, I'm sure.
Oh no, certainly not. But it would make handling these kinds of debate, quote unquote debates, much easier if I could just ban the people.
I think many people have said that in the past.
In Wintermoot, do you feel there's any particular issues that the LGBT community faces in nation states? Or I know you said your experience has been mostly positive, but
I think it's more of an internet thing, but I was just mentioning a few days ago, it seems like over the last year or two, there's been, I've seen a lot more casual homophobia and trolls, especially right-wing trolls that are obviously trying to post to get a reaction from people. I don't remember that so much my first few years here, but it seems like the last year or two, I've seen a lot more of it, and just on the whole internet.
It's very concerning, really, because I think it's indicative of a dangerous shift in how people are viewing or approaching the subject of homophobia and generally just bad behavior.
It definitely reflects the real world politics of our time, especially in a world where gay and transgender rights are under attack and in some cases being taken away.
Even in our modern era, despite the progress that's come across the world over the last 70 years or so, to see it kind of start rolling back, it's really sad to watch,
It really is. And I'm lucky enough to live in fucking California, where even in the States, a lot of the problems don't come down. And it's really hard not to feel for the people in other states, just with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. People who are afraid to be themselves because they're afraid of being ridiculed or bullied or worse.
And even though it's not the intent, Pride Month really has drawn out that behavior from people.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that people use Pride Month as just an excuse to cause problems. Like, we've got enough problems, and people going out of their way to start shit is not good.
I like to think that nation states, despite the general internet culture that does have an impact in nation states, I think as a community, nation states tends to take a more progressive approach to these kind of topics.
I don't know about the community as a whole, but like I said, the people I've worked with and been friends with in nation states over the years, they've all been great and supportive and really supportive of rights and just, like I said the other day somewhere, human rights. So there is a core of people who I think is resistant to that.
speaking as a person from the rejected realms, where a lot of these people who get banned from other regions for these kind of thoughts that are out there, I guess, despite how overall nation state seems to be left leaning, it definitely seems that there are. I don't know if it's just the outspoken minority or if it's a substantial amount of people who just spout this homophobic, transphobic. I guess propaganda isn't the right word, but like just these comments, and they get banned from other places. So it's like they just all we can do is suppress them, like suppress their R&B posts and stuff.
I think you're right in that it's probably something of a minority, but they are very, very vocal. I mean, for these people, it's practically a necessity to harass people.
Yeah, and especially on a site that naturally doesn't necessarily agree with them in that regard. They have to find the people who do, so they just try to make sure everyone knows what they think.
I think those are called trolls.
I mean, yeah, that's a better way to put it.
I think that's too insulting to trolling in general.
Maybe so.
I have plenty of friends under bridges who take offense to all this nonsense.
And it's going to be really nice to see all the regions that have come out in a show of solidarity during Pride Month. I've seen so many regions and players sporting their own specialized flags for Pride Month, and it's not the most prevalent, but it is far-reaching, and it's I think it's really nice to to see so many people in support of it.
No, I agree. It's really nice to see support like that. Even something as simple as changing the flag can just do a lot for the atmosphere.
One little change can make a difference.
Well, I wouldn't call it a little change. It's a tedious process for some of us.
But every bit counts is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Have you guys? I mean, obviously, Wintermoot, you would see this in your own region, but do you guys see your regions doing anything special for Pride Month, or is it just? Do you see other regions doing it in that kind of?
Over in our region, it's been more generalized. We've had some discussions on Discord, and I think we have a few more things planned before the end of the month. But just in general, I think it depends on the staffing of the region and what they're able to do. Most regions, especially the UCRs, don't tend to have the resources to put things together that are very involved.
I like to think that at least for Wintreath, it's kind of run of the mill, because you guys do this all year round, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. We take note of several other holidays like Transgender Awareness Day and things like that. So we have a dedicated position in our government for LGBT affairs. So it is year round for us.
And Tinfect, I know you come from a smaller region, but do you see your region doing stuff for it, or is it just?
For the region that my main is parked in, no, but that's because I'm the only one in it who still plays the game. I suppose the region that I actually interact with now, there hasn't been anything particular for Pride Month. It's just that the region itself is primarily for LGBT people anyway, which is always good. I'm afraid I'm rather disconnected from regional affairs at the moment.
Well, there is no shame in that.
You're not the only one.
I'm gonna change this over to Wintermoot for this next one. What led you to found Wintreath as opposed to going to a pre-existing region?
I founded Wintreath mostly as a puppet dump because I left Spiritus so fast it even surprised me. So I hadn't actually given any thought of what I was going to do or where I was going to go. And so I sat there for, I think, a day or so. And fortunately, I had a lot of friends who suggested that I give starting a serious region a try, especially Charax, who was my vice president in Spiritus and was really instrumental in the early days of Wintreath. And thanks to them, I decided to give it a try, and that's where we got started.
What different challenges have you faced administrating a smaller region? I think it's like the 30th biggest region in the world or something along those lines.
Yeah. At various times, we've had between about 190 and 500 nations. And the first few months, the biggest concern I had was just surviving. For 3 or 4 months, I didn't really know if Wintreath would actually be a thing, grow, survive. There's a lot of regions that just don't take root. So I was actually very relieved within 5 or 6 months when I really felt like it had taken root and something was stable. But it's the sort of position 5 years later, it's still exciting. It's never gotten boring. You deal with different things all the time. And it's just always a challenge and a reward wrapped up into one.
And it's surprising for me because I always thought that Wintreath was founded specifically for the reason it exists today. I had no idea. It's such a shock to know how misinformed I've been about the region after all these years.
Well, we've changed a lot over the years. We've had probably 3 or 4 generations of Wintreans now. And, starting out, we just started out as, I don't want to say a generic gameplay region, but it's more or less what we were. But over time, we've grown and we really started developing our regional principles of openness and personableness and acceptance. And I think that's really what's drawn so many, what's enabled us to grow our LGBT community. We've always had LGBT members in Wintreath from the very start. Of course, I'm part of that community, and we've always had others as well. But it's really only been in the last, I want to say, 3 years that it's really become a community all its own.
I know when a few years ago Wintreath had a more active, they participated more in gameplay, but I actually think that Wintreath has become better as they've taken a step back from gameplay.
I think it's because it's enabled us to spend more of our time and resources within the region rather than on things outside the region. Though we've made an effort to be a bit more engaging in the past year with other regions, just because we realized that being as isolationist as we were previously just wasn't working in several areas. But our region's kind of matured and we really have that foundation of community principles and values. So I don't foresee the region fundamentally changing because of that.
Not that it's wrong for a region to be isolationist. 10,000 Islands got by just fine on it for a long time. But it's really healthy to engage the wider world, if not just occasionally.
Fortunately, we've been able to bring in some great foreign affairs people such as Chenku and Katie, and they've really done a lot of work with more engagement, and I think we've really struck a good balance at this point.
And Tinfect, I know you mentioned this earlier, but has being part of the LGBT community affected your work or your reputation in the General Assembly?
I think it has, and it's partially my fault, just for the way that sort of realizing it all has caused me to back out of in character in a lot of ways. But aside from the out of character shouting matches in the GA, I suppose it's definitely changed how I see things in GA. Just certain issues hit home a lot more. And of course, my reputation has gone down the hole, but that's fine.
I'm sure you'll make a resurgence, whether it's slow and steady or quickly skyrocketing or something or other.
One can hope.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you, like your nation in NationStates, you roleplay as a like ultra like dictatorial, like fascist nation, do you ever find that like your like real life like opinions conflict with your like in character stuff, and does that ever like come out in during General Assembly debate?
It has, and that's happened a lot more recently. For a long time, I was probably taking the Imperium a bit too personally, and it affected my politics really negatively for a while. So I'm very happy to say that there's a lot more conflict between me and the Imperium right now.
That's kind of the point in a game like this. You get to get out of your own shell and explore different views and ideas.
Yes. Yeah, with the Imperium being a fascist state, it provides. I mean, just in terms of thinking realistically, it provides a remarkable insight into just how that mode of thought kind of operates, and I think that's immensely valuable.
And I've always said that it's fun to play a bad guy. So I mean that it definitely can help, I bet, to be like, well, at least it's all like fake.
Yes.
Because I know for a while my nation, I was role playing as like a super like oppressive like dictator. And then I was like, I don't know what I was like. We can edit this out.
Well, I mean, a dictatorship doesn't have to be oppressive.
Oh
Sure,
yeah,
it's
I know I'm a dictatorship still, but I was part of the CCD, so I mean, if that's telling you anything.
well, I mean, like my nation is a dictatorship, but and I think it's better described as a father knows best state, because the idea behind my nation is to do what's best for the citizens rather than the government, even if realistically dictatorships have always been bad.
It's a game.
And then coming back to you, Wintermoot, how is it that Wintreath ended up having such a lively bunch of people in its own LGBT community? Was this the intent? Kind of just end up happening on its own.
Like I said, we've always had LGBT people in our community, but really the growth of the community has happened mostly on its own. And I think that's just because of our, again, our accepting and open and personable culture that draws people in. You know, a lot of people have told me they feel particularly welcome in Wintreath and able to express who they are, what they think, without fear of being looked down upon or ridiculed. So I really think it's just because of our culture in general.
That's what drew me to Wintreath. It's been a long time, so I don't remember specifically, but I think initially I came to Wintreath as an ambassador from either the Rejected Realms or Taiji 2. But what kept me there was the community. It's really fun, and you guys really are so welcoming. It's easy to enjoy yourself there.
The community is what makes this all worthwhile after 5+ years.
I really don't think that Wintreath gets enough credit for that either. I know you guys don't do it for the attention or the recognition or anything, but you guys really are due for at least some recognition, because you've really done something great there.
It's just evolved naturally over the years, and like I said, we've had a great community that's really helped me put in a lot of work. It hasn't just been me. Really, it's the proudest thing I've led online.
I think I've only ever seen a community as strong and welcoming as Wintreath's in maybe just the Renegade Islands Alliance. It really is hard to come by in NationStates.
That was a fun region back in the day when we were getting started. They were great friends, and there were some great people there.
I definitely miss a few people from there. And then coming back over to you, Tinfect, are there other popular or at least infamous, depending on how they're doing, not infamous, more controversial, maybe. You know what? Take your pick. It could be either one if you want. Other popular LGBT authors in the General Assembly?
Well, I'm pretty sure that I think over half of GenSec is LGBT, which I'm not sure if they mind me saying, but I'm pretty sure it's Cyan Grad, might be Banana Stan, and someone else. God, I don't actually know which particular members of GenSec are gay, but I know that there are. Other than that, you may have seen Algar in the GA, either through their puppets, the potted plant hive mind, or giant bats, and I know he's trans as well.
It's an interesting thing to observe too. Would you say that the General Assembly, like the concept of the General Assembly, is the appeal that draws them in, or because they get to make the laws, that they wish they could actually make, in real life, or is it just something arbitrary that you can't really account for with everybody?
Frankly, I think it's just a sign that we are utterly normal, boring ass people with like that. There, I don't think there's any special draw to the GA for LGBT people. It's just we have as much interest in political simulation as any other boring ass people who are into political simulation.
I know that because I'm not, as much as I like to write, I'm not much of a World Assembly author. It's just I'm not good at it. But I don't want to outright say it's definitely boring, but it's just I don't get to be as creative as I'd like to be in that as I am in if I'm say, just writing a story or something for some competition or whatever.
I can definitely agree to that. I do a fair bit of writing on the side, and personally, I just rather like the tone and methodology of writing legislation for the GA. I suppose there's something appealing about litigating.
It can get rather repetitive though when you're just looking at the same piece of writing that you wrote and just constantly making small changes. I mean, I know I do that.
Oh, definitely.
I make lots of smaller mistakes, so it's like people are like, "You missed this," and I literally will read the same part like 6 or 7 times a day to be like, is that any good? Even if it's fine.
Well, the fact that you're, even looking at it like that is good. It means it means that you'll be able to spot flaws pretty quickly with some more experience, which is always a good skill to have.
I do just think it's an acquired taste, though. I remember when I first started writing, I was like, this is weird, and then I just continued, and I was like, it's fine.
Yes, definitely.
So, for our last question, Tinfect, have the LGBT authors in the General Assembly faced any more serious issues in general, or has it just been trolling and homophobic comments every now and then?
I think it's mostly been trolling. I don't think there's there's not much of a culture of homophobia or really any kind of discrimination in the way the GA operates, except towards new people. But we're just a bunch of assholes, so that's on us.
I think most of NationStates is a bit of an asshole. Do you guys have anything you'd like to say to the rest of NationStates?
Don't let the trolls and such get you angry. It just pisses off moderation.
I agree with that.
Oh yeah, do you guys want to do any shout-outs to anybody?
Join the Furry Anti-Fascist Alliance. It's exactly what it sounds like.
I'm a little put off by that name.
That sounds interesting, I think.
I don't know whether to offer my condolences or not. And we want to thank you guys for showing up. I know it's been a pain just for the scheduling alone, trying to get this going.
Oh, you got it together and on time, basically. So I thought you did great.
I agree. It wasn't. I don't think it ever really needed to be a big sort of heavily produced sort of interview, and this was remarkably pleasant.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's definitely casual and very pleasant.
Yeah, that's what we aim for. If you're having a serious attitude all the time, how's anybody going to have fun? Thank you, everyone else, for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as everyone else has.
Thank you for having us, Satan.
It's been a pleasure.
We really do want to thank, moreover, for all of us at Rejected Radio. Want to thank you for enduring all of the technical difficulties and the panic we've encountered since we started this. It's really helped us along and definitely helped me get through this.
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, that's all you got for us? I'm insulted.